Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm pleased to be joined by Ian Brown from Six Forwards Capital Allowances Specialists. Hi Ian.
Hi, Simon.
Ian, we've worked together for a while now, and people might have seen you on some of our videos and everything before. We've got some content inside Associates Club for our associate clients. But for those who don't know, can you give a bit of an introduction to who you are and who Six Forward are, please?
Okay, so my name's Ian Brown. I cover predominantly the Southwest, but most of the country in business development for Six Forward Limited. Uh, Six Forward as a company has a very small niche in accountancy and tax, and that is that we work with accountants to help their clients claim capital allowances which are specific to commercial property. So we've worked with you with clients who have bought properties, built properties, refurbished and extended properties, and help them to optimize what is a legitimate tax relief.
Yeah, exactly. So the I suppose the times that we end up working together, pretty much whenever we see someone who is buying or redeveloping property, our first thought is, should they be speaking to Six Forward? Because, a lot of people think, well, it's capital allowances, it's tax, my accountant will just do that. But what you do
Mm.
is kind of way more specialist than that. It's about, valuing the wires in the walls and things like that,
Yes.
isn't it?
Yeah. So you guys obviously claim capital allowances. You claim dental chairs, X-ray machines, and all sorts of things. Which, if you think about it, if you turned a building upside down and shook it, all the things that you claim are generally going to fall out. Where what we look at is the infrastructure that supports the machinery that you have, which is the front end machinery. So you need electrical supplies, you need water supplies, you need bathrooms and toilets and kitchens and cabinetry, and all those things that get bolted to the property have a tax value, but it's not always very obvious, especially
Yeah,
if you're buying a property or you do a project and there are timed invoices rather than individual granular lines as to what each exact item is. And we look at surveying property and reconciling to what's in a property to give things a value and claim tax relief.
yeah. I think that's exactly right. Anyone who's done any kind of big refurb or fitting out of practice will know the builders aren't going to give maybe there's a lot of detail on a quote, but it's not broken down necessarily by price. So we need someone with your guys' expertise, and it's a good way to describe it in that we'll deal with what falls out, but you'll deal with what's part of the building. That's really, really useful way to describe it. Um, there's kind of other aspects, aren't there, where probably the main topic we wanted to talk about today, because it's very time limited,
Hmm.
is to do with furnished holiday lets. So could you give a bit of an overview of what well, I suppose the problem and the opportunity there is?
Sure. Okay, so we find a lot of clients that we work with may have businesses. They could be dentists, they could be vets, they could have um, machinery or engineering firms. But as part of their family portfolio, they might have a furnished holiday let, and some of them might holiday themselves, but they have it rented out on Airbnb or whatever to make some income back to help cover the cost of the mortgage and things like that. And furnished holiday lets have been an interesting kind of in between property between pure commercial and residential lets for quite a while now. But just in the last couple of years, the governments have decided to tighten up on how they feel about furnished holiday lets, which is to say that there's this kind of feeling that furnished holiday lets are taking up property that first time or second time buyers could be going for in cities and on coastal areas. And so giving them tax reliefs seems like a bit of a stretch these days. Having said that, at this moment in time, until the end of this tax year in April, you are still allowed to claim capital allowances on what's defined to be a furnished holiday let. So if you own a property, say in Cornwall, could be in the north, in Northumberland, wherever, and you rent it out, it's available to let for 210 days a year, which gives you scope to have it for yourself as well. And it's physically let for 105 days a year, and those lets are less than 30 days per let, then you can qualify as a commercial property as a furnished holiday let. And if you have a property which satisfies that right now, then you have the chance to claim capital allowances in the same way as we've spoken about the other property types and doing refurbishments on dental property.
Yeah.
So just as an example, we've done a couple of lodges that have been built both on private land and in resorts. And I've got one here. It was built for £260,000. It's let, people are holidaying in it. Within that, we found just over £77,000 worth of tax relief via claiming capital allowances.
Mm.
So that means that client is going to save about £30,000 in tax. They're a 40% taxpayer. So we're going to save them in tax over 10% of the build cost of that property. And we've got a couple of others as well. There's quite a substantial house that was bought for 670,000 or cost £670,000 between buying it and renovating it. The percentage is slightly lesser, but we found £145,000 of tax relief, and those clients are going to save nearly £60,000 in tax. So it's a very valuable thing to do,
Yeah,
but the regime has now been officially abolished. So from the 5th of April this year, 5th, 6th of April, that is the end of the capital allowance regime for furnished holiday lets, and they'll start to be treated in the same way as a tenanted
yeah,
long-term let, which is residential.
yeah. Okay. So that's slightly furnished holiday lets is a specific classification of rental property, and
Yes.
it's got wider tax benefits than just being allowed capital allowances. You know, it's essentially treated by the tax rules as a business
Hmm.
rather than as an investment asset. So that means there's additional tax reliefs available, like capital allowances, which are tax reliefs on the parts of the building and the things in it. But also it can qualify for what we used to call entrepreneurs relief on sale, for example. So this all stops on the 5th of April. What normally happens when a business stops is that you are deemed to have gotten rid of or sold all of the kit on which you'd claim capital allowances. So is it a case of, well, actually, yes, you could claim and make a tax saving, but you're immediately going to just pay it back again, or is that not the way it's going to work?
So in this case, and we've wanted to clarify this, and we waited until fairly recently when some clarification came out. And the clarification does say that if you have pooled the capital allowances in your account, so you've claimed these capital allowances, you guys as accountants have a number now which you can play with, which gets offset against profit from the furnished
Mhm.
holiday let. If those allowances are in place before the end of this tax year, then that pool will carry on until it's extinguished, and there's no
Right.
clawback.
Okay. So it needs to be essentially included on the 24-25 tax return
Yes.
filed by the end of January next year,
Hmm.
January 26th, to say, I've got a furnished holiday let, I've got these allowances, I'm claiming them, I'm pooling them,
Yes.
and tax relief is available and will stay available.
Yeah. Yeah. Regardless of that, it has to be let
Yes.
before we get to April this year.
Okay. Let
But
within the
I think we'd be struggling to buy one and get it refurbished and let out by the timing now.
yeah. Yeah, it'd be pretty good going to get that done within the next 6 weeks or so. Um, okay, so if you think this applies to you, or if anyone listening thinks it applies to them, Ian, what's the best next step?
I'd say very much get in contact with Simon and he'll put you in touch with us, and we will very rapidly have a look at the property, see what the potential is. We always are very transparent in terms of
Hmm.
this is what the potential is going to be, this is how long it's going to take to do. Can we realistically do it before the time period? And this is what any charges are going to be. So that if you're going to go into this and sign up to do it, you're going to know pretty much what you're going to save within a band and how much it's going to cost you. And at the moment, we do have the time to be able to get furnished holiday lets done and dusted by this time. We find that normally we do a physical survey, but if we need to do things quickly, pretty much every holiday let has a pretty substantial package of photographs online somewhere, which we can top up if necessary with the owners. But yes, we can get it processed very quickly.
Great. Is there any other information people should expect to be able to have to give you, or maybe people might be concerned they don't have to give you, but perhaps won't actually need?
Certainly, purchase information on the property so we know how much was paid for it in the first place. And if we haven't got anything else in terms of sort of schedules of works and things like that, then if there has been refurbishment, we need to know a number for the refurbishment and what the scope of that refurbishment was.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we can be as basic as a number and knowing what's been done to the property, but the more that gets broken down behind that with a schedule of works or things like that, the better it is and the better the claim will be.
Right. Okay. That's really helpful. So So yeah, if you think, you've got furnished holiday lets, or a furnished holiday let that might have some capital allowances sat in it, get in touch. But of course, it's not only that Sixth Form would deal with. If you're acquiring commercial property for your practice or for any other kind of commercial property, or carrying out or planning any refurbs, get in touch. We'd love to get Ian in there to maximise the tax claims that we can make.
And we're always happy to talk through a scenario. There's no charge for having a talk through with me, what you have got, what you're looking at, and what the potential might be.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Ian. Great. Thanks, anyone. If you've got any questions, get in touch. Like I said, more than happy to talk you through it. Ian would love to help. Thank
Thank
you.
you.